Today we are spending some time with Adri Neuper, your preferred pot supplier. She works with pot plants and art supplies and works a lot with designers. And it's interesting, when I asked her a bit about her bio, she made this distinction between being an entrepreneur versus being self-employed.
Well, I'm saying that it's not the same thing because of something I must have seen on TikTok or whatever. I think that if you can, they say, if you can step away from your business and it carries on, you are an entrepreneur. If you have to work in your business, which I have to do, then you're just self-employed. But I also think that, that's just one more technicality. If you are starting out and you just want to, earn a living, because that's what we're all trying to do. We are trying to survive. Okay. This is not complicated. Then who cares, what is it? What label they put on you? What label? Yeah. What label you put on yourself. So.
Welcome to Risk and Rise, the podcast where we explore the journey of overcoming the fear of failure, embracing risk, and achieving success in entrepreneurship, creativity, and personal growth. I'm your host, Telana Simpson, and I'm thrilled to embark on this journey with you. Together we'll discover the strategies, insights, and shifts in our thinking and attitudes that are needed to turn setbacks into stepping stones and transform fear into fuel for success. So grab your coffee, get comfortable, and let's dive into today's episode of Risk and Rise.
So we're going to be joining Adri in her actual kitchen as she does some cooking with us while she shares all of her story and her experience. Adri, when you hear the term risk and rise, what comes to mind, especially from your past?
My whole life has really been risk. Sometimes I wonder about the rise, but we don't give up, and we always stand up. So so I'm thinking of like everything, how I grew up, what I did in my 20s. I'm in my 50s now. What happened in between, and it's just been risk and rise.
So tell us then a bit about your story, but the or whatever you would like to share, but the entrepreneurial side in particular. And because I know you have specialized in the green industry, in pots in particular.
Yeah. So I'm Afrikaans. I come from a middle class background, and I'm crying now because I'm cutting onions and for my spekboom chutney. Let me just get a tissue because my nose is going to start running. So I come from a middle class background, and my parents, the way that we learned to work ourselves out of poverty was by education. So in my family, there was no choice. You went to university. I did not want to go to university, but like I said, there was no choice. There wasn't any money to go to university. So this is where the first risk and rise comes in. And my mother and I started a little we made a little business. We bought from Chinese people long time ago in Joburg. We bought hair accessories, and I sold it at nurseries, nursery schools for the little kids. And that's how I paid my way through my studies. I also worked at Greatermans, and I waitressed, and I've basically been working since I can. And so that's how I got my degree. And so a lot of people look at people with education, and you kind of automatically assume that you come from a privileged background. That's not necessarily the case. So and then I had to start working because I didn't have a car. My parents didn't buy me a car, like I think it's kind of common these days. So I told my father when my studies was finished that, I now need to work, and I cannot, the public transport system in those days weren't good. So I can't, I need a car. Otherwise I can't get a job. So my father then said, fine, you'll buy me a car, but I need to pay him back immediately. Okay. So he bought me a Renault 5. I loved that car. And then I had to pay him back immediately. I didn't have a job. So I looked for a job like it was a job. I got dressed in the morning and I went out for interviews, pre-cell phones, pre-LinkedIn, the old way that we still had to do it. I didn't knock on doors, but I mean, I went to the personnel agencies, and you had those forms that you had to fill in, and you had to say what your education is and what you want to do and everything. So I did that day in and day out. And one day I got an opportunity to go for an interview at a hardware company. And, long story short, I got the job. I was the first educated person that they employed as a rep, because it was 1994. So there was no, the affirmative action was a big thing. And and this is another thing, if I can help anybody out there. When you go to university, you study for 3 years or whatever. And for 3 years straight, they tell you every single day that you are special and you are going to get middle management jobs and you are going to get middle management money. The reality is not that.
No.
So, education and finding a job is two completely different things. I needed to find a job, and then I got this job. I started paying my father back. And then I met the man I married at a wedding, and I married him in 6 months, which I would not recommend. And it was a very, very difficult marriage, very abusive marriage emotionally. And but we did very well in business. We opened lots and lots of businesses. We made a lot of money. We employed most of the family and, I don't know, most of the surrounding neighborhoods, and it was insane. And and I had 2 kids that also had lots of learning difficulties. So I had to deal with that, and I had a nervous breakdown along the way. And so life has been interesting, full and exciting, and I've had to learn and adjust. And I think what was the brief? You rise, you risk, and then
risk and rise is our topic. So yes, it sounds like, I mean, it's a very full life, and it sounds like you've had some really extreme moments of challenges. But from what I know of you, you've always somehow risen, which I think is the human story. Like, we all find a way to somehow get going again. What was one of your worst failures in business? Because it sounds like with that husband, you're saying you were involved with a number of businesses, and then I know you've been running your own business for quite a while. So what was one of the failures that you don't have to go into detail if you don't want to, but it's just that you have, I suppose, the failure that you learned the most from, that in hindsight helped you to see failure differently?
I think if I could package it slightly differently, if I could say, what advice would I give based on the mistakes that I've made? Then I would say that when you go into business with other people, that we have all these like jokes that we say a partnership is a sinking ship, and so on. That's regretfully my experience. I had a really bad partner, and it cost me. It cost me millions. It cost me years. So in the beginning, my experience is that in the beginning, everybody loves each other. Okay. But when there's no money, when it's only ideas, when we're just talking concepts and everything. But boy, oh boy, the minute there's money on the table, then people start showing their real colors. So, and then there's like little things like don't sign surety. The banks are just absolutely brutal. I can tell you stories that will make all your hair fall out. So yeah, just be wise, be careful in business, who you do business with. Make sure that that you have all the information that you can possibly get, and cover yourself in whatever way. I'm not saying that this is foolproof, because you can still get things can still go wrong, and things like COVID can happen, and the economy, and factors completely out of your control. But please be sensible. And then what was the other thing that I would say? The other thing I would say is a mistake we made, my ex-husband and myself, in the beginning, was we started a business which is outside of all of the stuff that you know about. Another thing, and we only had one supplier. And if I can give anybody out there advice, never, ever, ever have a business where you either have only one supplier or only one customer. Because if anything happens with that one supplier or that one customer, you're dead in the water. So, and how do I know this? I learned this the hard way. In my business, the one that I controlled later on, but the one I birthed, the one where I have the passion, I would say to anybody, control your buying. If I can, but purchasing is in my opinion, and this is now 25 years of being in retail and so on, purchasing is the most important business function. You might fight me for it, and you might not agree, and you're welcome to do that. But you can, if you do not control your own buying, you can have, there's so many things can go wrong. Buying is an absolutely key function in the business. And if there's any advice I can give, is control your own buying, because then you don't have the wrong items coming in. You know what the pricing is like. There is no buying from friends of friends who gets backhands, which is what happened with me. You don't get inferior product. You also, because it was my dream, I understood the market. I knew what people wanted. So, and then this outside guy came, and he just saw an opportunity to make a buck, and he just bought things that didn't make sense, and he didn't even understand what he was doing wrong. But buying is an important business function. It's very, very important. Mm. So that's what I would say.
It sounds like it's important, one, in the actual product, especially if you're a product-based business. So buying the product for the quality of product, for your cash flow.
Yes.
But I'm
Oh,
wondering also the other side, if for someone who's maybe a service-orientated business, controlling your buying still affects your finances. It's like the costs of the business. So there's value
yeah.
whether it's
Yeah, well, nowadays, okay, we do have a lot of internet business, which wasn't really a thing for me in the past. But nowadays, you can do a lot from home. But the minute you have a service-based business where you've got to get into your car, and you've got to go somewhere, and there's petrol involved. I never really factored this in because I was so privileged, and there's been a time in my life where I felt so guilty because I never realized how wasteful I was. Maybe that's why I'm so incredibly frugal now. But so, and then once at one point when I basically ran out of money completely, I realized that, even a phone call costs money. If you have a phone, a contract, whether even if it's a cell phone, contract. I'm thinking in the old days, we still had, like a landline and things like that.
yes.
But, everything costs money. And it's when there's a lot of money or when money is not, really a thing, then nobody thinks about these things. But boy, wait till the tacky hits the tire, then you realize everything, the petrol in your car, the phone, and then your own, you need to look presentable, you need to also have, that part of your presentation. You need to at least have one good outfit. You need to, as a woman, we need to have our hair. I'm not saying that we need to walk around like Barbie dolls, but you know what I mean. It's important. Presentation is important. And these things cost money, and you need to budget for it. And I'm speaking as somebody that, I shouldn't really say this. This you must not do, okay? This is not to be duplicated. But I've never really budgeted. I've just made it work. And I think a lot of people live like that. And when you talk about risk, sometimes I meet other people, and sometimes I kind of read between the lines, and I think to myself, this guy or this girl will never survive my life because I live so close to the cliff. I mean, it's insane. And if you are used to security, if that word is important to you, I don't know, then you should reconsider being an entrepreneur because there's very little security in being an entrepreneur. So
when you say you live close to the cliff, has there been times where you have been fearful, really scared about what's happening, what's going on, or what the next step might be? And then what helps you to manage that fear?
Every single day, baby. If you come across an entrepreneur that tell you they're not scared, then they're lying. It is. I have at any point in time, at any time of the month, at any time, I have no idea where the next cent is going to come from. And I'm not saying I don't plan, and I'm not saying I don't, I work and we quote, and I know there's work out there, but there are no guarantees. So, so you basically, when you're a rep, like I started out in with hardware, you'd have a target. And you'd have like you have to make so much, and we used to break it down. So you've got your target was say 100,000 Rand. That means you've got to do 3,000 Rand. If you work 30 days a month, that means you need to see so many customers, and so you do all of those things. But at the end of the day, there's no guarantees. And even if you have, like, for instance, when I started over in 2015, I was very fortunate to get a contract to work for KFC. And everybody that hears that thinks, sure, that's really glamorous. It's not glamorous. It's very, the work in contracting like that is you got either too much or no work at all. So, for you to, that swear word you used earlier, cash flow, for you to manage your cash flow as a person like myself, you have to have incredible financial discipline. You've got to, you basically have to live like, there'll be all money and also no money. So you have to think, okay, what am I going to do? And how can I make this 1 cent I've got? How can I make it 2 cents? Because, and it's very simple. And, I was talking to my girlfriend the other day about business in general. And we were talking about concepts. Like she's a Greek. She comes from they had Greek cafes and things. And I said to her, you know what? The same things that Coca-Cola face are the same things I face, and the same things that the Greek cafe faces. A 5 rand problem is the same as a 50 million rand problem. It is in principle the same, but people don't understand that. They're overcomplicated. They make it like this big, you need to be clever or you need to have a degree or something. You need no education for this, baby. You need common sense and street savvy, and you need to understand. Look, it's helpful. I've got a degree in business, so I have a good understanding of books and stuff like that. So I won't scoff at that. But if you don't have that, you employ a bookkeeper. You pay for the skills that you don't have. And also, that's another thing. If I can if I can be of help to anybody, please don't try and fix your mistakes. Work on what you are good at and give that the best shot you can, because that's when you'll be really successful.
So let me just clarify what you mean. When you say don't fix your mistakes, are you meaning don't focus on your weaknesses? Because surely if you do something wrong and it affects the business, you need to correct it in some way. But the difference I hear you saying is more if we can always work to our strengths instead of trying to improve our weaknesses. And a lot of people then say you hire someone who's strong in your weak area. Yes. That's how you find the right partners, the right people, the right team.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Do you agree?
Yes. I'm a coach, and I love the idea of improving and getting better and growing and developing. So I will always, I think, be open to learning and improving myself. But I understand there's some things I'm just not interested in or just don't have the inclination to. And if we're trying to grow a business and evolve, to go the next level, the fastest route would be to hire someone who's strong in that so that I can add the value where I'm strong at. I can still improve myself in other ways, but yes, definitely surround yourself with people who are, I think, brighter than you, stronger than you, smarter than you, and you can all just go far. So what about just then dealings? Have you seen your experience of being an entrepreneur, working for yourself, is a daily dose of fear and a lot around it, but because there's no guarantee on any business. There's business out there, but it's just, what helps you to manage that and get up every day and continue? Why not find something that's not so fearful every day?
Well, because I like my life. I guess maybe I've grown used to it. I design and I design spaces and I decorate with pots and plants, and very rarely do I go into any project where I feel I really, I've got this waxed. I mean, obviously you can't, you talk the talk, and by this time you've got a rapport with the client and so on. But, you know, imposter syndrome is a very real thing. And I think, how do I get, I mean, I guess one of the things I do is I don't have that many choices, so what am I going to do? Am I going to work on what I know, even if I don't feel fantastically confident every single day? Or am I going to now start trying to do something new? I would definitely rather just try and hone the skill that I've got. And I mean, I learn, and I like what I'm doing right now is part of my CPD course. So I identified many years ago that, or I heard about this, that professional people need CPD points. And I thought, well, I love training. So how great would that be if I could train and be paid for it? Because then I get paid not for my work, but I get paid for what I know, which by this time is quite a lot. And so part of the CPD course is the 15 landscaping trends across the world, and one of those trends is the growing of your own vegetables. But I have identified through a massive illegal amount of YouTube watching and TikTok that the one thing that people do not understand is what to do with what they grow. They don't know how to prepare the things. So you might actually be quite good at cultivating it, but you still don't know what to do with it. It's there, it's in the garden, it's growing, but you have no idea what to do with it. So I started a YouTube channel to do that, and then I make this spekboom chutney, which I harvested yesterday. So this is now to show you. So this is spekboom, which is very, so I do research, and I just have a zest for life, I'm just grateful. And also, instead of like lying in bed and not, and being unhappy or counting everything I do not have, I just jump out of bed in the morning and I just think, okay, you know what, I've got whatever. And so I think gratitude brings you a long, 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 long way. So, and also for that, you need no education, you need nothing. It's just an attitude.
So that's fascinating. So now you're teaching people what to do with what they grow. And I think we're watching you right now. So again, you're making, is it a chutney?
Yes.
So maybe share just briefly the recipe, because it's just been so wonderful watching. I've seen you chop a lot of onions and now the peppers.
Yeah. So again, I do like cooking, but I'm not a I'm not a cook. So, if you ask me, can I cook? Then, yeah, I'm not a chef. So what I will say is, if you ask me about this, then I'll say I can read. Can you read? Yes, you can. So if you can read, you can do this. People think, oh, I can't, and I can't bake, and just change all those I can'ts to I cans, or maybe I should try. So I found this recipe, I think it was on YouTube. It's really nothing spectacularly fancy. It's just I think it was, I don't know, it's a spekboom chutney recipe from YouTube. And I just read the recipe, and the first time I made it, I made it, and at the end it tasted like chutney, and I thought, gosh, what a win. I've never made chutney. So I don't, and like that, I've tried other things. I've made, there's like the roots or elephant ear plants have a rhizome. Few people know this. And there's not all of them, but there's some of them that you can make they call the root a taro. This is all stuff we can grow. And then there's a Greek recipe called kalukasi. So, again, I YouTube and I follow the recipe. And so if you can read, then you can do this. So basically, I don't actually even know what a chutney is, but what this is, you start with the oil, with some garlic and some chilies, and some curry, and you add some onions and you add some peppers, and then apple goes in. And just now we're going to be chopping our spekboom, and you put some sugar and vinegar and water, and you let it cook, and it comes out as chutney. It's beautiful. When people ask me why do I do it, and you know what the answer is?
No.
Because I can.
Okay.
And it's just, I don't think about it. I just do it. It keeps me busy. It keeps me from pining over things. It provides an end product that's actually edible, which is a plus. We all need to eat. And that's how, so also don't overthink it too much. Just do it, just do it.
So it's just two things I want to highlight. The one is just for people overseas that may be watching. Spekboom is a type of succulent plant that it's really, we are finding out, it's just such an amazing plant. It cleans the air very well, but also it's edible, as Adri is just pointing out. So highly nutritious and a wonderful plant. But also, I think what you've just shared with us just shows the resourcefulness. And I think that's a key part of being an entrepreneur. The previous episode I did with Karen was around just how, if you're not resourceful, if you don't have that attitude which I can, or I will find a way, or I will make it happen, or I will learn, then maybe you're not actually an entrepreneur. I think that's a key part of the kind of personality or the mindset that allows us to tackle creating something out of nothing, which is what you're doing with this recipe. It's taking a whole lot of ingredients, making adjustments to those ingredients by chopping them up and cooking them in, and it becomes something else. The sum is bigger, something bigger than just all the parts. No way. The one other part about your story, your journey is you've become like a very well-known, and can I say like an expert in pot yes. plants and that is and I was reading up on your website about you that through your journey with the pots, it looks like you had two different businesses that were over a decade each. I mean, the one is your current related to this, and you've developed a strong network of suppliers.
Yes.
Tell us a bit about so, because I'm trying to always relate it back to the risks and the fear that we have in that. I mean, there's obviously just a long journey to become that well known and that have that many contacts.
Yeah. You know what? I had a while ago, I follow this other guy on TikTok, and he was like talking about being kind or something. And I've had a lot of really, really fabulous things happen in my life. I have had a lot of really cock things happen as well. But I've had some really fabulous things. And then when people hear about the good things, then they are like, oh, how did that happen? And how did you manage that? And how did it? And if I have to tell you the story of all of these things, 99% of all of it boils down to me offering to help. I find myself constantly in a position where I'm just somewhere and somebody needs a hand. Somebody needs you to help them put something in their car, or help them carry something, or while you're carrying the bag, you talk a little bit, and you make a friend, and you exchange a number, and I mean, that's the way I ended up on the runway. I've got this passion for pottery, and I was thinking, how can potters make more money? And I thought, well, if they don't only make bowls, if they also make, if we get it into fashion, and I got invited via a different girlfriend with marbling, which is a different story. But anyway, I got invited to Fashion Week. I was so excited. I felt like I was like, Sex in the City, you're sitting there. And it was like an absolute dream come true. And I got to be there for this thing. And the designer saw me with my piece. It's a long story, but I had a piece of jewelry on, and she saw me and she said she'll use me, thinking that I'm a jewelry designer, and I am not. And I said yes, and we exchanged numbers, and 3 months later she sent me the program for Fashion Week, and she put my name on the program. I was doing the accessories for the runway, and we exchanged little samples of like 50 cents. She showed me the fabric and I showed her the jewelry. And she sits in the Cape and I'm in Joburg. The day of the fashion show, we met for the first time with the product. And it was just, everything just matched. And on this part, I can say, develop a relationship with God, because faith is unbelievable. And it worked. And I realized that I saw the way that they work behind the scenes. And I said to her, well, I'll offer to help you. I will, I'll put the stuff on the models, because it was crowns and quite intricate stuff. And via that, when it got time for us to, at the end, the designer walks on the ramp. She grabbed me and she pulled me with her on the ramp. There I was, not only sitting on the front seat, in the front row, but there I, Adri, middle class, not model like in any way, shape, or form. No, here I am, and I'm on the runway. I mean, these things. This is like the movies. And how did it happen? I just offered to help. I said, "Look, you need help. I'll help. I'll be the one working behind the stage."
But also part of that story is you having an idea and sharing it through your networks, mentioning it, and it's at the right time, the right place. And also it's the innovation of it. I mean, you've gone from pottery, as in pot plants, and brought that through into fashion. It's very, very interesting.
Yeah. So, you need to talk, and you need to be willing to go out. I have to tell you, it's really getting difficult for me. I'm an extrovert. It does help. I think for introverts, it might be slightly more difficult. The other day, I was in a meeting with young architects, and they were doing a similar kind of thing. And there was a guy that was explaining all the work that they do for government, and how this project works and how this project works. And the youngsters were saying, but, how do we get that type of work? And this man didn't even hear the question, because, he's so used to it. And I said, no. They are asking, what must they do to get these projects? And the fact of the matter is, you don't get these projects if you are a startup. You don't. So how do you get anywhere? And the absolute answer is networking. I've also I'm very active on LinkedIn, and I've started helping people with their LinkedIn profiles. LinkedIn, if you are in business and you do not have a LinkedIn profile, then I'm going to slap you, because LinkedIn is incredibly powerful. I mean, we are on this call right now. Where did we get together again? LinkedIn.
Through LinkedIn, yeah. So there's an element of your story there is about asking and offering. So it's two sides. Because I think a lot of people, as you said, are very scared to ask for the job or ask for assistance or even offer to speak up. So is it just naturally part of your personality that you speak so much and reach out? I mean, it just sounds like you are that kind, gregarious. You
Yeah,
like people.
yeah, I do find people like me. I think because I've been through the war so many times, and I'm just so down to earth, and I'm so people relate to me because I am not special in any way, and I've just made it. I just need a cup. Just give me a second. Um, Sorry, I just need a cup to put the sugar and the vinegar, and then I can sit down. Um, yeah, so I, if you don't like talking to strange people, or strangers, um, I'm not sure, you'll have to, um, I don't know. I mean, that's actually an interesting thing. I don't know. I think you are a little bit more reserved than I am, or are you also very outgoing? I think you're also very outgoing.
Yeah, and I do. One of the areas I specialize in is the self-consciousness and people who come across very quiet, how to overcome that and find their way of speaking out. So it's just a muscle that needs to be exercised. I suppose what I'm trying to ask, because I keep going back to, 'cause we wanting the show to be talking about the fear of failure, but in your
Yeah.
story, it's almost like you have a different relationship with the fear of being an entrepreneur. That it's no longer a bad thing, or it doesn't hold you
No,
back. It doesn't.
no, it's a
It's just
challenge.
there. It's just there.
It's a challenge. It's more like, how am I going to kick ass today? So this is my today. Tomorrow is going to look completely different. Yesterday looked completely different. Somebody asked me in my retail business that I had, in the beginning. They asked me, how did they phrase it? Like, when or why do I sell pots, or what do I do? And the answer was, because I'm hungry. I need to eat. So, a lot of this is just, there isn't a lot of like overthinking, and like, there's just actually doing, just actually, getting out there and try and not to overthink it, and just, get on with the job so that you can, so that you can. Well, by the end of the day, you know what you can do. If I think of like strategies, I do like lists. I think lists are nice. Lists, I know it's not going to be everybody's thing, but, lists, I think, help. I think, if you can develop a passion for making lists, what a list does for you is it kind of gives you the it gives you kind of a sense of accomplishment, because what happens is we also think, well, I feel bad because I feel I don't do enough, or I haven't done anything today. Sometimes somebody will phone and say, what did you do today? All my friends think I do nothing, some of them, whatever. So, and then somebody will say, what did you do? And then I'll say nothing. And then I'll think about it. And I think, this morning I did this and I did that. And, and then I look to myself and I think, gosh, I did a lot. And I think that we should also be okay with praising ourselves. It is okay to be proud of yourself. It's okay to be at the end of a project be able to say, I did that. I think also there's a thing, maybe nowadays, maybe I don't know, maybe it's maybe too old, but I think there was maybe at some point in time where they don't want to excel, they don't want to kind of you know what I'm trying to say? There's like that thing of they don't want to be better. They don't want to make other people think that they're not as good or whatever. You know what? I want to be the best. And I want everything. So yeah, so make lists and just and make fear your friend. I think that's a good that would be a good kind of wrap it up, because that's what I've done. I've just made fear my friend. And I've just said, well, you know what, you're going to be here forever, so I'll just make you work for me. So
how does fear then work for you?
well, it propels me. It gets me out of bed. It's like, if I don't get out of bed, how's my bills going to get paid? It makes it exciting, because I've got to maybe learn a new skill. I maybe have to do something that I'm not 100% sure about. There's always the possibility of meeting somebody new. I mean, I would never pass that opportunity up. What else? What do I do with fear?
So that's listing all the benefits of doing what you're finding fearful. That helps you then to get out of bed and do what you need to do.
Yes. Look, and I can also tell you, I mean, if you know, it might sound like I'm like the superhuman. There's a fair amount of procrastination that goes around here. Okay. But I also think that when you do procrastinate, don't beat yourself up over it. You know, use that time when I would say, you know, like if you're a painter, artists are known to look at the canvas for a long time. Just look at it, you know. Or I would be working on a project and I would just be thinking, you know, driving, thinking, walking in the garden, thinking, and I think that to recognize that that is also work. You know, because that gets you just this week I did a project, and there was a part that I really wasn't sure about, and you know, I lay awake at night and I was like thinking, okay, I'll do it this way and that way. And then I was driving with my son to a family thing, and I was just saying, oh, you know, I've got to do this, and he sat there all quiet, and then he said, well, you know, I've got something that you could maybe use, and he gave me an idea. And I mean, something that would have taken me a few days and would have been so complicated, just became clear. Maybe talking to people, maybe that's good.
Yeah.
Taking count, you know, not also
sharing. Well, that's your story. The more you've shared, the more opportunities have come to you. Yeah.
Connecting, yes, and again, showing your vulnerability. You know, going. I mean, again, we don't want clients to think that we don't know what we're doing, but you know, when you have a contemporary or a peer that you can phone up and say, you know what, where do I buy this, or what can I do here, or and also the other thing. One of my business contacts phoned me this morning, and I forgot to do something. Be honest. You know, just say, sure, you know what, I really forgot. You know, I'll make sure that it's done today. You know, I think there's some wisdom in just being human.
Yes.
And allowing yourself just to be human. And then also, you know, I think what fear, you shouldn't, like, because I can in the past, I mean, you know, I said I had a nervous breakdown, so depression is a part of my story, but you can also allow yourself time to just cut out, watch a movie, you know, do something that you know, you like. I would think, oh, you know, that doesn't mean anything in my life. But if I think back, while I was watching the movie, my brain was, you know, working out this problem, and you know what is really, really, really important is friendships. And if you're a woman, cultivate your girlfriends. I mean, there is nothing like a cup of tea or a glass of wine with a group of girls. It's such a, work on relationships. It's so important. Money comes and goes. Friendships and relationships are very difficult. So also prioritize, make sure that your focus, okay, we are talking about business and risk and how to get up and everything, but also have maybe some balance.
Yeah, because we need the balance to recharge, as you say, and to reconnect to meaningful relationships that help us have that balance in life, because life is more than just work. And I think we get caught in this trap nowadays of this busyness for the sake of being busy, which is not actually productive. It's really, with the business, you got to work out what is the most important thing to do that takes the business forward versus just being busy for the sake of it. And I really like, because I had to learn this the hard way when I experienced my dis-ease, my illness, was the value of rest and the value of that slowing down. And because just going, the body can't cope, and also you just don't come up with the ideas. So one, you need physically to rest, but also you said walking around the garden, thinking about it. We need time to think. And I don't think there's many people that allow that, because then they're not being busy. But it's those moments. How many times have people spoke about how they come up with the best idea in the shower, or sleep on it, and the next day you have the answer you're looking for.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm one of those sleep on it people. Through hard lessons, I've learned immediate decisions and hasty decisions is always a problem. So I sleep on it. And often, like when I wake up the next morning, I just know what I should be doing. It's like my brain has just worked through this problem, and the next morning I've got clarity, and I get up and I can just do it. So it's phenomenal. We are like, our bodies is self-healing. When you talk about people that get sick, our bodies are self-healing, and our bodies is also self-cleaning. There's like this whole thing about whatever, and we are, so we should also allow that rest for the kind of the reset button, and then you don't have to, because there's so many things people do, the supplements we take and so on. And it's all because we are not happy. And why are we not happy? It's because we're not allowing ourselves those balances and those rest, and that then, like at where I'm now at 52, my risk, this body that you are seeing is my biggest risk factor. Because I've realized I've abused my body. And now I'm thinking, okay, I have certain health challenges myself. And if I plan to live another 80 years, not 80 years, another 30 years till I'm 80, and I still have to take care of myself, living the life that I've lived, how I'm going to have to start planning better. I'm going to have to really eat better. I have to, there are things that I've got to put in place, because this body is my greatest, when we were in our 20s, we just got away with murder. And you do not understand how it bites you in the back when you get older.
Yeah.
So, this is what I wanted to say. I was in a church service once, and there was a guy that was preaching on your, how did he say it? We borrow against our future self. It was the most profound thing. And he was saying that, so you've got like an amount of everything, okay, and we all are different, okay? So if you, like, I know many people that are now really have health issues, very, very serious health issues. And if you go back in the history, then they will tell you that 5 years ago they had a contract and they worked literally 18 hours a day and they never slept. And, and they ran this big factory and they made all this money. But they got cancer after that. So I'm not saying that hard work's going to lead to cancer. Please don't think that. But you understand what I'm saying. If you do not rest regularly, and I'm not talking about holidays, that's a different thing. If you do not take some time every single day to recalibrate, your body is not designed to handle this.
Yeah.
And that includes your brain. You said about thinking. My client on site this week asked me if I ever have a problem being creative. And I was like, I was kind of taken aback by the question, especially now this is the client. And I said, no, I'm not. And he said, why? How can I not? And I said, well, because I do different things. So if I'm not creative here, then I'm creative there, so what's the right word? You change it up, So another thing I learned, I had a different problem a little while ago. One of these things that I sleep on and that I wake up in the morning and I have to answer. And I just had these words, change your focus. And I looked at my problem and I just thought to myself, and I phoned a friend that's going through a tough time. And I said to her, just change your focus. Change your focus. Here is the problem. And we are focusing on that left-hand top corner there, but the problem is here, just change your focus, and it's a few weeks later and that problem is completely solved and everything worked out. But I was stressed, I mean, I was like, really, it was really not nice. So
it sounds like another way to say that is to take a different perspective, look at it from a different angle.
Yes.
Changing the focus, because then you see what you couldn't see when you only got blinkers or tunnel vision on one thing. You're not seeing the bigger picture or the other resources, or seeing it from a different angle that will help you to unravel that problem.
Yeah, because you see, we look at it and we focus on one aspect of the problem. Say it's finances, and we say to ourselves, I don't have the money to pay for this. Say you run a factory and you need a machine is broken down, and there's a part that you need, and the part's going to take long to get, or something, or it's very expensive. And you are now production has stopped. I can't do anything because this thing, change your focus, maybe in the time that the machine is not working, make something else or develop a different way to make it. I know this doesn't work for everything, but, and also when you are relaxed, you make better decisions. Or let me speak for myself. When I am relaxed, I make better decisions. When I'm frazzled and all over the place, you cannot make a solid, you can't make a good choice. You can't think properly.
Mm.
And then one problem becomes another one, so, yeah. And then maybe just the thing is, I think what we also see, because I'm thinking about risk and, do that thing that you don't want to do because you're scared. Do it being scared. Do it whilst you are scared. And almost the more scared you are, the better, because the greater the greater the excitement when it's, when you've done it. And then you can look back and you can say, I did that. Like there was a situation in lockdown, and I took on a project. I really needed the work, and I took on this project, and it was difficult. Lots of things went wrong on this project, and at the end we did it. And I was talking to a friend about it, and I said to him, "Do you know what I learned?" And or he said to me, "What did you learn?" And I said, "I don't know." And he said, "You learned that you can do it." And do you know how beautiful that was for somebody else to tell me that I didn't need help? We often think we need help as well. Not to say that you shouldn't ask, you should ask, but often we can do things,
Yeah.
And because then at the end you don't then you can actually also take pride in it, and it's not I've done that because so and so helped me, or you've done a lot with that matchstick thing. I'll never forget the night I met you. It was and the whole I find it was so interesting, and what you did afterwards, and how we've stayed in touch over all these years. But you can say you did that. You did
Yep.
that.
Yeah.
Not, and there were people that said no. There were many problems. I mean, you had to change your focus. Remember when I said to you, how do you feel about the fact that you wanted space, but now space is not really premium because people people work from
don't
home.
need, yeah.
And you were quite cool about it. And you were like, and I thought I would be devastated. And you had completely accepted it. You had completely thought through it, and you said, well, you know what, the goalpost has changed, and now I'm embracing it, and I'm using it as part of the journey. I think that was your answer.
Yeah.
So use the fear as part of the journey.
Part of the journey. Yeah, I was going to say, and here we are, Risk and Rise is part of the result of that shift in focus. Adri, I think we're starting to wrap up now. I've got some quick rapid fire questions to ask you, but just before, if anyone wants to get hold of you, what's the best way for them to get hold of you?
Is it safe to give my cell phone number? Shall I give my website address?
If you'd like to, yes.
Okay, so my cell phone number is 083 417 5249. My website is www.ineden. My business is called Ineden, INEEDEN.co.za. And my name is Adri, ADRI, and my surname is Neuper, NEUPER. And you can Google me. There's like 5 pages of everything that I'm very active on social media. So follow and stalk me. Don't stalk me.
And I'll put the links in the show notes.
Yes.
Great. So then I want to ask you these 5 questions. Just the first answer that comes to mind.
Okay.
So what does come to mind when I say risk?
Life, every day.
What is your secret weapon for bouncing back from a setback?
Fear and shame.
That's interesting. So fear helps you bounce back as well as shame.
Yeah, because I refuse to, I don't want people to feel sorry for me. So I would rather die. I will show you. I'll do it.
And therefore you get back up. Okay. What's the most important lesson you've learned as an entrepreneur?
Don't trust anyone, including yourself. And do be responsible for your own buying.
What's the best advice you have ever received as an entrepreneur?
Love what you do. Just, you know what I don't care what it is. I just need a sip of water. I don't care what you do, as long as it blows your hair back, it's going to be good.
Yeah, what's the point if we're not enjoying it? And then what inspires you to get out of bed in the morning?
The sun and the birds. Yeah, I love mornings. The fear of missing out.
As well, yeah. Well, thank you so much. Then maybe just to wrap up then, what is your, what tip or what advice would you give someone who's struggling to get going with their entrepreneurial idea and is hesitating because of the fear of failure or whatever fear it is? They're hesitating in taking that leap.
Let go of all your expectations. Forget what you thought it would be, because it's not going to be that. And stop looking at what other people are doing, because we all look at what other people are doing that's been doing it for a long time. You don't know what I've had to go through to be here. So it's the same as YouTube videos. We look at people that make really good videos and we think we can't do that. But go back and check that guy's first video. It sucked.
Yes.
It was terrible. So start. Just start. Just start. And the next morning, one step further, next morning, one step further. And 5 years later, 10 years later, you'll look back and you'll think, wow, I had no idea what I was doing, and look where I'm at.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
This has been Risk and Rise, and I'm Telana Simpson. Thank you so much for joining us today, and please share the show and give us a rating and or review, and let's risk and rise together.
Thank you for joining me on Risk and Rise, where we face fears, conquer challenges, and rise above adversity to achieve our dreams. Find out more at riskandrise.co.za.
Oh, if you're wondering what the pot looks like now on the stove as it's bubbling away.
There is, I don't know if you can see, there's the
yes.
curry.
Yes.
So you can actually include that. That's quite lekker. So there's the curry, the chutney. So, yeah. So
Super. Thank you.
Go live your best life. Let everyone go live their best life.